very much accepted.
Yeah. Well, let us note that the Green Movement, as I believe, and please correct me if I'm wrong, has dissociated itself from violence as a means of achieving their goals. But also let us note that just because that does not mean that an opposition group to a despicable dictatorial regime that uses torture and violence against its people, that anyone who chooses to resist it in a violent fashion doesn't make them right or wrong. This is not we are not going to get the mullahs to give up power simply by proving that they're thugs, by letting them beat people up and suppress people at will. In fact, I will have to admit, one of the things that attracts me to this movement is that it is willing to fight for the rights of the people of Iran against a very oppressive regime that's willing to kill people to stay in power. And but if the Green Movement has not accepted that, and that the use of force has been something that the MEK is willing to do, and it separates it from the Green Movement, let us accept that. That is, that being a reality. That doesn't necessarily make it the right position in the United States to back just pacifists in the world. Backing people who fight against tyranny is also something the United States could be doing. Colonel, you seem like you are anxious to say something.
Thank you, sir. One point that needs to be pointed out, in the membership of the MEK inside Camp Ashraf, there are only two people that were involved in the organization in the early 1970s, and I'm holding their names for their own safety. One was in prison with a Grashavi, and the other one I know personally, and he's a good friend. I can honestly say neither one of those two people were involved.
Well, it is very difficult for me, and after seeing the video that we had, which is very clear evidence of a massacre of unarmed people, is there any reason for us to believe that if they were not designated a terrorist organization, that the person who ordered them to go in with those troops and shoot down unarmed civilians might not have issued that order?
Colonel? I'll lead out on that one, sir. I think yes, because at the pace, the State Department has been basically moving at the pace of a startled snail. And when you see the Maliki government doing things wrong, and to include the attack 2 years ago, and our State Department and our government does nothing about it, but we keep them on the terrorist list, claiming they're a bunch of bad people, we're given justification. And then when the attack is over, we also do nothing about it. We remember the pictures of Abu Ghraib. This Abu Ghraib was minor compared to what happened at Camp Ashraf. It was very hideous and it was very wrong. But all of a sudden our whole nation was inflamed and the world was inflamed, and it was a recruiting tool for the Al-Qaeda. But then we see blatant murder, and then we look the other way. That just encourages more.
The point is very well made, Colonel. I think that there are consequences to political designations and consequences in the action of the people who order it and the people who are decision makers in other countries, which leads us to Prime Minister Maliki. And does this indicate, does this slaughter that we have seen of the people in Camp Ashraf indicate that the government now of Prime Minister Maliki is perhaps in a subservient position to the Iranian mullah regime?
If I may again, sir, I see him subservient to three different elements. One is the Iranian regime, two is Hakim, and three is Muqtada Sadr. And we saw this even in the execution of Saddam. Muqtada Sadr was the one who said to his followers, Saddam will not live to see the light of a new year. And then suddenly, Task Force 134 gets a call from Maliki himself saying, I want Saddam turned over tomorrow. And you remember the spectacle of that. Maliki is taking orders from three different elements. And as you recall, Alawi won the election, but Maliki would not follow the Constitution and work with Alawi. And as a result, Alawi won the election, but he lost the government.